You'd have to have if you want to include photos, you would have to have a camera phone. So 8350 or i580 is usually where we get most of our business on that. We've just started working with a number of clutches as well. But we work on any ident handset. And Nextmail Locator, instead of being $750 a month, it's $19.99 a month. Same rules apply. There's no setup fee, sign-up fee, cancellation fee, long-term commitment, part of the sprint bill. But it allows mobile workers, and this would be more of documentation of work completed, whether it's a construction site, whether it's a field installation team, whether it's some sort of government account, maintenance for a school, for example. So now what it'll allow is I can take as many photos as I want, snap, snap, snap. Then when I speak my update, just the way I did before, it's going to send those photos with the GPS map, date, timestamp, and the result. This is a message I actually sent right before I walked in this morning. And this is a sample maintenance completed. So as you'll see, when this message comes in, and it's only one other step, it's taking a photo.
This is Justin-pt3, vehicle 18, calling a maintenance completed on the job 1234. I just completed repairing the main air gun.
Okay, you get the idea. So for example, now when this call comes in, so I made this call parked out right outside of your building, and as you'll see, when this message comes in now, it's going to have the date, the time, as many photos as we want to include with that. And this is on the medium resolution setting on my BlackBerry, just to give you an idea of the detail that they can get included there. And at the bottom, it's going to also include your broken down GPS map. Now with any GPS product, ideally you want to be outside with a clear line of sight to the sky to get a truly accurate pinpointed location. In this case, it lets you know it's 6 meters accuracy. Street addresses are always going to be a little fuzzy. It might be across the street, which is why we have this pinpointed arrow to let you know exactly where that call was coming from. Now the neat thing about something like this is if I wanted to prove, for example, that I stopped by to do a maintenance when a customer's not there, how do I prove that I was actually there? What was done? Maybe a serial number. But now, if you have a customer, and then most of these maintenance companies, what they're doing, or maintenance like field install, HVAC, landscaping, pool cleaning, any type of service-oriented company that's carrying an ident handset, for them now, just using their handset, they can document as many photos as they want, and now they have that archived record. Well, obviously anyone can have an actual digital camera and carry that around to document what they're doing. And that's certainly valuable, but at the end of the day, what does that mean? It means someone's got to marry that information from maybe a handwritten note to what I've done, to the actual digital camera photos, put that into a customer file. With Nextmail, that's not the case. When this message comes in, date, time, the audio explaining what was completed, as many photos as they want to detail the work that was done, and we can actually show that location. So when a customer calls up and says, hey, your guy didn't show up for my required maintenance 3 Thursdays ago. Well, instead of them trying to figure out what's going on, they go into their Nextmail website, search by that date, and it's going to pull up every stop that guy did with all that information, and with one click of the mouse, they can forward that email right to that customer for proof of accountability, or really if there's to avert any potential billing disputes. Now, something like this, for example, Cintas. Cintas is a great customer of ours, and the issue with them was they were doing a bunch of these early morning deliveries. Well, what happens when they stop by a customer's restaurant at 5 a.m. to drop off the linens and no one's there? They can't leave it on the front sidewalk. It's going to walk away on its own. So before Nextmail, they would just leave a little door hanger or something like that. Hey, we were here, and go on to the next stop. Well, the owner of that business, when he gets in at 10:30, sees his linens aren't there, and his gut instinct is to call Cintas to scream at them, you know, what happened this morning. That's not the case with Nextmail now. With Nextmail, when they arrive there, they knock on the front door, they knock on the back door. They take a photo that shows that maybe the door's locked, the lights are out. They send a message, no point of contact as a subject. This is Justin, I'm the customer 1234. No point of contact, we ring the front door, ring the back door, I'm moving on to the next location. That message comes immediately into the office, date, map, time, photo, and instead of them waiting for that customer to call them and scream at them about, where was our linens this morning, they proactively forward that right to that customer. So when the customer arrives in, instead of them saying, ooh, gosh, you know what, it wasn't Cintas' fault, that was our fault. And a lot of these companies, they have a revisitation fee. So now what that means is instead of them having to make that unique visit on their own dime, they can say, hey, we're happy to come back, but guess what? Now we're going to charge you that $20 revisitation fee to come back and make that unique delivery. Well, if Nextmail's $19.99 a month for unlimited use, if they can get the $20 from, if they did that once a week, they would be getting, they'd be making their money back 4 times over. The reality is that with a lot of these waste companies, service companies, installation type of companies, construction, they're able to immediately double, triple, or quadruple their revenue at a moment's notice. One of our biggest verticals has been waste. And I don't know if anyone has any waste accounts in here, waste collection, waste hauling. Republic Services just started using Nextmail Locator, and at their pilot office, they had a return on investment of 1,600%. And that's such a large number that they can't even document that because they don't want their customers to know how much money that they're actually making using Nextmail. But the reality was that for them, they would go to pick up a can of trash. Maybe the gate was locked so they couldn't get in there. Maybe the can was overflowing, so they couldn't actually physically lift it up and empty it. So they take those photos, send it to the dispatch forwards it right to the customer, and within that same day, that customer gets a bill letting them know that, hey, we're happy to come back when we were here, we tried to service you, and guess what? Our revisit fee is $45. Well, there's certain drivers in the Republic Services that are sending 20 of those Nextmails a day. So you're talking 20 times 45 a day, and they have 30 drivers. This is in the Northern California Salinas office, and the product's paying for itself and then some, to the point that I'm actually getting reactive business calls from Republic, which is something obviously we all want to have. You know, there's nothing like a customer calling you and your only response is, you know, how can I take your order, please, sir? So it's obviously nice, and I know we can have that same success with you guys. I'd like to open up for questions, see if anyone has, if I hopefully struck any chords. If you guys want to talk about specific accounts or specific verticals, the floor is open. Anyone?
Is there a location stamp with the $7.50? $7.50?
No, there's not. That's only for the 1999.
What is the they can clock in and out or something?
They
Time
will.
clock?
And the time clock?
And the 750, right?
Well, they can. They're not going to get the pinpointed map location with the pinpointed street address with the 750. It would be like if I was coming into the office and I was remotely, I was clocking when I got to the office. It's going to give a date and time stamp. For the mobile worker that's going to be out in the field, like I got to clock in at my job site on the other side of town, they would need the 1999 version. Now, when I position that, I don't position that just as a clock in, clock out. For a construction company, which is one of our biggest verticals, every construction foreman or supervisor takes what they have a daily log. At the end of the day, they'll have a little notepad and they will write down, today we did this, that, and the other thing, and there was this many workers. And at the end of the job, when that job's completed, whether it's a month or whether it's a year and a half, they take this logbook and they stick it back in the corporate headquarters, and it sits there in case there's ever a dispute. Well, you can imagine what happens when there's a dispute. Someone says, hey, 9 months ago, my one subcontractor was on your site, he didn't get paid that day. Now they got to look through this, basically, the Dewey Decimal System to try and find this handwritten scratch note. Well, with Nextmail, that's never going to be the case. The foreman walks through, takes pictures, documenting, snap, 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 that's what we completed. Records the audio update, this is what we did, there was this many workers, this was the weather, this was what was completed. They released the button, and now they have that archived log of the photo showing what was done, the audio explaining who was on location, and the date and the time, and it's archived online. So when there is that dispute, they can immediately just email that right to that specific subcontractor to avert that potential billing issue, or really to document what was done and how it was handled.
And how long does it last?
Those are all, standard archiving for us is 90 days, 1 quarter. Now, on any of these messages when they arrive, like for example on this one, if I wanted to save this, and the user has this feature that they can hit save message, and it will automatically zip that folder up into a less than 2K compressed zip folder that they can then just plop into a customer, or into their database or into a customer folder or file. Something that we're using this for, this was actually developed for Clark County School District, that Save Now feature. They need to archive all their messages for 10 years. A big thing for them is, let's say they have a guy go in and fix or install a boiler. Maybe it breaks down, it's got a 10-year warranty on it. So when they do the install, they document with photos how they installed it. They take a photo to document the serial number in case there's ever a warranty issue, and that's all saved as the install folder in that particular campus's account. Well, 8 years later, maybe the machine breaks or the boiler breaks, and they need to install it, repair it, fix it, whatever the case. Well, maybe the same employee isn't even there anymore. And they're not even sure what this guy did because he worked on his own technique and been with the company for 40 years. Now they can pull up that file and they have step-by-step instructions on how they fixed it. But if there is that billing warranty issue, all that information's there and they can forward it. So now what they'll do is they'll just hit, when these messages come in, they just hit save, it creates that zip folder, puts it right on their desktop or in that customer file.
File forever.
Exactly, file forever. Anyone else?